Last week was my best sourcing week yet, and I can't wait to share with you guys what I got. Hi, if you're new here, my name's Malika, and this is my channel, Third Act Thrifts. I'm a relatively new reseller, and I started reselling last fall, and this is my weekly sourced and sold video. This is for the week of January 11th through the 18th, and I had some amazing finds. So it was my best sourcing week ever. I did a lot of sourcing. If you watch my last video in the first week of January, I really did not do much sourcing, but I made up for lost time, believe me, this one. So I'm going to go through my top 10 with you before I then go into what sold. It was sort of a slow but steady week with selling. I'll talk about that later. But the sourcing was incredible, and I can't wait to see what comes out of this. So we'll walk through what my top 10 were, and I'm actually going to cheat a little. I'm going to group these by brands because I did find like really good pieces and multiple different brands. But I'm going to give you my top 10 actually with one honorable mention to start. So let's get into it. This is my honorable mention, and this is actually a little floral dress from Denim and Supply, Ralph Lauren. If you are not familiar with this is actually a line that Ralph Lauren has discontinued, but I wanted to show it because I'd heard about this from some other resellers that there's definitely a market out there for Denim and Supply. And I looked it up, and there is for sure. It's not going to sell for a ton, but there's definitely people out here looking for this. And it's got that. When I did the research on it, it looks like it's from probably the early 2010, but it does have a little bit of the sort of baby dollish vibe and the floral look. It's in really great shape. So I wanted to share just this because of this brand. So I'll show it one more time. The Ralph Lauren Denim and Supply. So if you come across these in your search, definitely keep an eye out for it. It's still Ralph Lauren, still really well made. It's a great find. So that's my honorable mention. Number 10 in terms of my finds last week is, and if you watched my mid Ben's haul video, I did talk about this sweater. It's Land's End. I see right there, but it's 100% cashmere men. And it's ranked as my number 10 for the week because I pick up a lot of cashmere. I pick it up anytime I see it. If it's in good shape, I'm not going to pick up cashmere that's not in excellent shape. But this is my first men's cashmere sweater. So I'm excited to see what this one does. So we'll keep an eye out on this. This was my number 10 pickup for last week. Number 9. So number 9, I'm putting this in because I know some people list this as maybe a bolo, or for some people, maybe, I don't think it's a bread and butter, but Marine Layer, which is a really great brand actually out of this area, from the Bay Area, San Francisco. This is not that exciting of a piece. I'm just excited that I found Marine Layer at such a great price. So these are just some basic black. They're tapered at the bottom. Pants. See that they've got like this little tapered and little slit at the bottom, but they are really like nice material. Really well made pant, and they're in excellent shape. So really interested to see what these do, but I'm going to always continue. I've been keeping an eye out for Marine Layer, so I was just really excited to find it. So definitely one to be on the lookout for. So that is ranked number 9 on my list. Number 8 is a group of Halara. So I have talked before about how I love selling Halara. It sells really well for me. Like, I think better than anything else because it's the thing that I've sold the most. It's also what I have sold the fastest. I had to pop off for a second. My dog was barking. I don't know if you all heard that in the background, but I could not concentrate. Okay. So I'm going to go back to Halara finds. So I found 3 pairs of Halara pants, and they all ranged in price from about $5 to $6 last week. And this pair right here, 2 of which I should say were new with tax. So this pair, and if you're not familiar with Halara, there's what it looks like. Polaris don't sell for a ton. These are just like, these actually are flare bottom. How well you can, but if you're not familiar with Halura, I like feel like this is just a really great brand to pick up, particularly if they're in current styles. I will say I've even sold it when it's not in current style, but it sells really well for me. So it doesn't sell for a lot. I sold it anywhere between, I think the one that was not the greatest or newest style sold for 17, but I've had now two pairs sell for around like 29-ish dollars. So it's definitely very solid. People are very into these because they have got they're that comfortable sort of athleisure look of it. They look like denim, but they're actually they're like more comfy sweatpants. One day I hope to find a rag and bone sweatpants that looks like denim, but until then, these Polara do a similar thing. So this is the other pair that I found. This pair actually has already sold, so I'm sending these off today. But this is also new with tags. Same look as the black, except for not as flared, more of a straight leg. So that is the second Polara that I found. And then I found third pair of Polara pants. These were also black, but not like a denim look. These are more of just like a regular sort of trouser, but with a wide leg bottom. Step out. See that? These are really, really cozy feeling. These are not new with tags, but also still Polara. So in the pockets, this is also like really nice. These are super comfortable. Look like really nice dress pants where you would be just like comfortable wearing them. So that on the brand for Halara was my number three, or Scully, my number three, my number 8 for last week. So getting into number 7, another brand that I found multiple the same brand was Quince. Quince is another brand I also really like to sell. If you're not familiar with Quince, Quince does a lot of the sustainable material. They also take out the middleman in terms of the sales. So you actually get really high quality products at a less expensive price. So you can get cashmere for as little as $50 actually on their site. Their leathers are a lot more expensive, but it's high quality, very popular. It sells really well. It holds its value really well in the resale market. This dress is just a chambray, loose fit, long sleeves dress that is made, think of like tinsel. And so this is just like also a really cozy, comfortable little dress from Quince. So that was one Quince item that I found. The second that I found is this silk blouse, which they do really great silk. This is just beautiful short sleeve navy silk blouse. There's the Quince label. This is also in a size large, so it's a great size. Just a really fantastic, solid piece. So this has already received a lot of interest. Actually, both have. So I expect them to sell really soon. So there is my number 7 Quince for last week. Okay, getting into number 6 is another really great bolo that I have not found before, but this is Beyond Yoga. These have also already sold. These sold last night, so I'll be putting these out. These are just some basic leggings. These sold for $30. They are really cozy. I mean, they're just so soft and comfortable. These are definitely a really high quality legging. So if you come across this sold super fast and it sold at a great price. I am thrilled for getting 30 for these leggings. Number 6. Okay. Getting into number 5, the next brand is Anthropologie. I found so much Anthropologie. Go through these really fast, but this one is just a Anthropologie shirt. This is just me adding things for spring, as I'm still bulking out my spring um, closet because since I started reselling in the fall, I've been just working on building that up, as I've mentioned before. So this is by Anthropologie, just like a Henley style blouse top. And this one of the favorites that I found, Anthropologie, it is Maeve, which is an Anthropologie brand. And this is sort of sage color, lacy top that's got like a nude blush lining. This is just really adorable. And it was in great, great condition. All of this detailing in condition. So this is one of the that I picked up of the Anthropology last week. Really hopeful about that one. This next one is more of a summer top, and this is Pilcrow, which is another brand at Anthropology. It's got a little smudge on it, but it is Pilcrow. And this is also part of Anthropologie's size group. So I'm actually excited for that. It's a great little tank, little top that for summer, and it's smocking it. So that also fantastic. And then I also got a couple of cloth and stone, which is mostly Anthropologie. You can also, I think, get cloth and stone at Nordstrom, but this is just another sort of summer basic tank that will probably be good for bundling for somebody, cloth and stone right there. And nothing particularly special about that, but I'm hoping that that will be just a good addition to have in my closet. The second cloth and stone, another cloth and stone with this little plaid top, more of a lightweight, let's esteem this, lightweight plaid, long sleeve top that all of these I think I paid like between $2 and $3 for. So they, for me, felt like really great pickups just to have additional options in my closet after because we're coming to spring. This is the most exciting and what I would consider a Volo for Anthropologie. It is made, but it is specifically the Colette. So if you're not familiar, these are Anthropologie, like our higher line, and these are a nice wide leg pant in a great burgundy color, which we're still, I think, in as we're in the winter, this burgundy color is still pretty popular. I was so excited to find this. So I'm going to put this up here again. Definitely keep an eye out for May the Colette. This is a petite. So it's a 28 petite. So it's a smaller size, but it's not too small. It's like a 28, which is like a six petite. These are in excellent condition. I was able to find these. I got for about $7. So that I think I can list. I can list these for like 60-ish. We will see how those. Oh my gosh, so excited about those. So that was my number 5. All right. So now we're gonna get into the next, which filled with Bolo, exciting, and designer. All right. So number 4. If you've not heard of it, this is definitely one to be on the lookout for. This is ALC. This is definitely a Bolo brand. This is a very high-end premium brand. These, and I can tell you that the detailing, I don't know how well this is going to show up on camera, but this high-waisted, like sort of pleated look on these pants. Oh my gosh, just incredible. And they're in like really great shape. So they are sort of a tapered pants. I found these at my neighborhood thrift store, which is also where I found the Colette pants, which I don't normally find this amazing type of pants there, but it was such a great day. Anyway, so these, and I have the back pocket. This has what I would kind of like a there's definitely a market for this look of pant, but these are, I can actually, as I did my comps on this and look this up, I'm going to be able to list these for anywhere between $80 and $100. I haven't listed them yet. I'll get them up probably today or tomorrow, but these are definitely huge finds. I'm going to actually show this one more time. Keep an eye out for these. ALC is the brand. This number 3. Number 4. 4. Closing my camera. All right, number 3. Here's my number 3. Another one to be on the lookout for. High-end premium. I would say just below designer, but it is IRO Harris. I had actually never heard of this before, but when I was in the thrift store, I came across these and I stopped because they looked kind of different and fun. I made this up. The bottom of the pants had these little buttons and they felt really quality. And then when I looked at the tag, I saw Paris. And so whenever I see European tags, particularly when I see that they're made in Europe, it makes me take pause. And I actually pulled up my phone and started researching while I was standing in there. This similar to the last one I showed, very, very high end, premium brand. So this is, and another thing I always do is I kind of go to the Real Real and I'm like, do they sell these on the Real Real? Because if they sell them on the Real Real, I definitely know that they're high end ones. So I did not look at sell-through rates. I was just really excited to find these. I did look at some comps on Poshmark, eBay, and they definitely do have them listed for, I saw between like 80 and $120. And this is, but you don't see a ton. There's not a lot out there. But this particular look, I did not see anywhere else. So you can actually unsnap these and wear these wide, or you can have it snapped and have this tapered look. This is such a really interesting find. These are 100% cotton and just incredibly just thick, uh, well pants. So again, IRO Sheriffs is another brand to definitely be on the lookout for. That is my 3. My number 2 is another designer find. And if anybody has seen my video about what sold during my 3rd month, I mentioned that on Christmas, I sold a Diane von Furstenberg silk wrap dress for under $3. So to date, that is my best sale. Well, last week I found not one, but 2 Diane von Furstenberg pieces. Not as exciting as the wrap, but the fact that there are 2 Diane von Furstenberg. The first one, this one, Diane von Furstenberg, is this green blouse. One of the reasons I was so excited about this blouse, and it's this 100% blouse. One of the reasons I was so excited about this one is because it's green, and I paid $1.50 for it. Now, one of the reasons I think I paid $1.50 for it is because it does have a little bit of staining on it, which I'm going to work on. I may have to take it to the dry cleaner to help get this out because this is really, really delicate silk. And so I'm not sure I'm going to be able to treat it myself, but Diane von Furstenberg, which is incredible designer find. And this green jewel tones are definitely for spring really popular. So all the fashion girlies are definitely saying to keep an eye out for the jewel tones. And this is just a really, oh my gosh, feels great. Feels really luxe silk. So that's one of the Diane Furstenberg. The second Diane von Furstenberg I found last week. You can see the tag is this beautiful, also again, sort of this beautiful, bright, jeweled, ruched dress. And it's like a viscose blend. Feels really soft and just comfortable. Just feels really comfortable. But it's got like ruching throughout, so it would be really flattering on somebody. I have it listed for 75, and so we'll be happy if it sells for between 50 and 55. But this is just a really pretty dress. It's in a great size. It's a size 14. Super exciting find. So my one of 2 designer brands that I found. So this is my number 2, my Diane von Furstenberg find. Now, my number 1, which I mentioned if you saw the thumbnail that I said I found $1,500 pants, which I did. I will tell the story really quickly. So I have a thrift store that I source at I've been there 2 or 3 times. It's about 45 minutes from my house, so I'll go and source in this one area, and I've committed to doing this monthly, where, this particular one is definitely this store's a little honey hole. It's pretty small, but they have extremely high-end stuff that you can find there, and I found Jill Sander. If you are not familiar with Jill Sander is known for her sort of quiet luxury, minimalist look uh, pieces. I mean, so we're talking sort of on the level of like the row kind of thing. These pants are brown cuffed pants. They are very sort of minimalist. But when you go on Jill Sanders' websites, you will find that these pants, similar to these, run anywhere between $1,200 and $1,600. So when I say I found $1,500 pants, these, when they were originally reselling, were probably about that. They are great for work or whatever sort of dress. And these are in incredible condition. I got these. I ran into the thrift store. I got there like 10 minutes before they closed. I almost laughed. I was like, oh my gosh, they're about to close. I didn't realize they were about to close. And I said, let me see what I can find. And I came up with these. I paid up for these. I paid 20, but I imagine I'm going to be able to list them based on what I found. I'm going to be able to list these for probably about 120. So we'll see what they do. But Jill Sander, I'm going to show this again, very basic label, if you can remember this. Um, Definitely keep an eye out. If you ever come across these, they are in decent shape. Even if they have a little bit of a flaw, find them. These I imagine are going to sit. Same with some of the other ones that I had in my top 5. But that's okay because these are the types of things with the right buyer coming along, you will get what you are asking for, which is what happened with the other Diane Furstenberg dress. Didn't sit for too long. It sat for maybe a month and a half, but it just took the right buyer, and that buyer came along, paid full price. So these are really exciting buys. So this Jill Sander brown cup pants, my number 1 sourced for the week of January 11th. All right, so we'll go ahead and get into what I sold next. I had 10 sales last week. And while that's, pretty good, I think certainly being a new reseller, I was expecting more because this was the first week that I really started actively cross-listing using Nifty. I was still in the trial period with Nifty, but I had really bulked up a lot more on eBay and Mercari and a little bit on Depop. So I thought I would have more sales. But actually, as I've been hearing from other resellers, it sounds like January, particularly the beginning of January, tends to be slow. So I think that maybe 10 is kind of what to be expected. I did have at least 1 sale a day, so it was definitely steady, but it was a little slower than I was expecting once I started using Nifty. But let's get into it. So here is what I sold starting with January 11th. On January 11th, I had 1 sale, which were these Halara high-rise buttonfly pants. And I don't think that I mentioned these in my last source and sold, but these were pants that I did actually source during my last sourcing of the first week of the year. And I love sourcing Kalara, as I have continued to say, because they go really fast. And these pants sold in 1 day. They were listed on the 10th and they sold on the 11th and sold for $29. So my earnings on these was $23.20, and I paid $9.22, which is kind of higher than I would typically pay for pants. But because I know that I sell Halara fast, I was ultimately okay with paying up a little bit for these, but my profit was $13.98. And for me, like a day to flip these for $13.98, I was more than happy with that. So that was the 1 sale on January 11th. On January 12th, I also had 1 sale, which was this Lauren by Ralph Lauren new with tags coral rib sweater. This picture is making this sweater look a little bit more red than it was. It was definitely more of a coral um orangey color, but new with tags. And I also really like selling Lauren by Ralph Lauren too. These only sold for $20, which is probably a little bit less than I was expecting, but it's still there was lots of interest in this before it went. But I was just as I'm trying to kind of continue to keep things moving, I took a little bit less than this than I probably ultimately could have gotten, but it was also at a good size. It was size 1X and new with tag. So sold it for 20 on Poshmark, my earnings $16. I paid $6.97, and that's my all-in cost. So the cost of good plus the taxes on them. And so my profit on this was $9.03. My next sale was on the 13th, and I had a total of 3 sales on the 13th. So this one, which was on Poshmark, were these Sperry Girls Port duck boots, and these were just in fantastic shape. I mean, I think they've been probably worn like once or twice, but I was trying to pick up a lot of duck boots actually in the fall. I thought those would be, something that would be um really pretty popular, which they were. I think ultimately I did sell all of the duck boots that I bought, or that style of boot, but these ultimately sold for $20. So on Poshmark, my cost of goods was, or sorry, my earnings was $16, and my cost of goods being 11.85. And, so my profit was only $4.05. So I paid up for these. I'm guessing I probably must have thought that I was gonna be able to sell these for a lot more. I'm not quite sure what I was thinking on that, but, sort of live and learn. I don't think I would have paid that much for these before or what I know now as I've learned, but, still, I will chalk this up to still being sort of in my first 3 months and learning, how to source best and, how much things are gonna go for. So anyway, but they sold after 36 days, and I am thrilled with that. My next sale on the 13th was my second ever Mercari sale, which was this mini Bowden animal hooded sweater that I picked up during my very first Ben's haul back in October. And this is another example, also, I will just note, of an AI image that I created because I really wanted to show how cute this little sweater looked on. And so this sweater, it actually sat in my Poshmark closet for 36 days without being sold. When I started cross listing and using Nifty, this was on Mercari for about 3 days before it sold. So this is for me an example and just validating how helpful cross listing is. And I'm really glad that I've started doing it. So it sold for $15, and Mercari does not take out a ton of fees, particularly if we're not paying for the shipping. So my earnings on this one was $12.81. And my cost of goods, since I got this at the Benz, and that bench trip was an average cost of goods of $2.32. And so my profit on this was $10.49. Actually, I just remember something. Fun fact. I didn't pay anything for this sweater because when I was leaving the bins and I put everything on the scale, I realized that this was actually in a bag that was on my shoulder that I thought was empty. And I remember saying to the guy, because I realized it before I walked out, oh, I forgot to add this in. And he was just like, it was closing. The bins were full. He was like, that's okay. Just go ahead and go. So I actually didn't pay anything for this sweater technically, but if I count it into those average costs of goods, you can kind of say $2.32, but or nothing. So anyway, this was ultimately just a really great sale and super excited to have another sale on Mercari finally. Um, then my last sale of the January 13th was this Max Sport Heather charcoal long open duster cardigan. I mentioned this in my last sourced and sold because this was the number one, my number one thing that I sourced. And I was so excited about this. I found this at my neighborhood thrift. This has a MSRP of $360. It still had the tags on it. Beautiful, just elegant, long duster. And this was listed for 3 days before it sold. I had it listed for $59.98 and I got an offer for $48, which I took. And I didn't realize it, but I think I paid the shipping because my earnings on this was $33.60. My cost of goods on this, I did pay out a little bit for it, was $11.57. So my total profit was $22.30. But this one moved so fast. And so I'm thrilled all around with that one. Okay, so that was the last sale on the 13th. Moving on to the 14th, I had one sale, which was this new with tags black merino wool cashmere pant in a size triple XL. This was a beautiful pair of men's pants, and you can see that the original price on this was so $375. Vince is just really pricey, but also really quality. I really like picking up Vince. I personally like Vince, so I think it helps that I also just have a personal liking for it, because I've actually sold multiple Vince pieces. This is another AI image that I had created. This I was not definitely going to be able to get, if I had posted this picture, I was not going to be able to do these pants justice. So definitely this is an example of something that I would try and use AI to create an image for. But I had listed these for 65 on eBay. I had them listed higher on Poshmark, and they got some interest, but not a ton. But ultimately, they sold for $58.50. And my earnings is another one where I actually had a lot taken out because I also promoted these. They took 37 days to sell. So I think I was just like, hey, let me try and see if I can generate some interest. I would love to hear from other people in the comments, maybe if you use eBay's promoting and how you feel about it, because I don't know how I feel about it, given that I sold these for 58.50 and that my earnings were only, it was only 30.79. So there's a lot of fees that came out of this. And I think between eBay's regular fees, the promoting fees, I may have paid the shipping on this, which I need to be careful about. Still trying to figure eBay out. So you want to give me some advice on eBay, I'm here for it because I'm still trying to figure it out. I feel like I know Poshmark pretty well, though I'm still learning there, but I'm really still learning on eBay. Um, anyway, so my earnings was $30.79. My cost of goods was $9.78 for this. And then so my profit was 21.01, which I think is still good, but it could have been better. But that's okay. So this, so happy to have sold these. They were a beautiful pair of pants. So that was my one sale on the 14th. My next sale, which came on the 15th, and I had three sales on the 15th, was back on Poshmark, and it was this Pendleton Savvy Stretch Wool Green Blazer. Pendleton is another really great, brand to pick up. It's definitely a high-end brand. People recognize it. This was a beautiful wool blazer. This is another AI image that I had created because I don't, here was my image and it just was not going to do it justice. So I don't always use AI, but certain things, particularly if they're higher end, I kind of tend to use an AI image just to make it really look like it and pop like it should. But this I had listed for 20 days and it sold for $45. My earnings were $36. My out of pocket on this, my cost of goods was $7.55. So my profit on this, which was my best profit on any of my pieces during this week, was $28.45. That is exciting. My next sale on the 15th was another Mercari sale. So it just felt like I was rolling with Mercari. So excited. Second sale there was this North Face zip up sweatshirt. I have this listed on Poshmark for 70 days. And within 2 or 3 days, it sold on Mercari. I am just like, oh my goodness, the cross listing. What a difference. Another AI image, FYI, that I created. And this one was just a North Face zip up. I've had some North Face pieces. I just have not experienced North Face losing really well. So Really happy to have this one move. But sold it for 22.50. My earnings on this was 19.46. My out of pocket, my cost of goods was $9.83. So my profit was $9.63 on this piece. And then my last sell on the 15th was this really cute, made well oversized ex-boyfriend shirt that sold on eBay. And this is another example. I had it on Poshmark for 51 days, and then it was on eBay for less than a week and sold. So this sold for $22. My earnings on this was $17.06. And my cost of goods was $6.21. And so my profit on this was $10.85. And my final sale of the week came on the 17th. I had 0 sales on the 16th. So my final sale on the 17th, which is something that sat in my closet the longest. And the sale was on Poshmark. It was on Saturday morning. I actually woke up to this sale and I was so thrilled because this Calvin Klein royal blue dress has really, over the months, received a ton of attention. You could tell it was early on because I was not taking pictures very well. Oh my gosh, when I look at this is kind of funny. But anyway, it's a royal blue, beautiful color, which I think was clearly drawing a lot of attention. But I'm guessing maybe because it's sleeveless and why it was not moving yet. But this sold for $22 after being listed for 91 days. And my earnings on this was $17.60. My cost of goods was $12.79. And so my profit on this was $4.81. I definitely bought this when I was thinking certain things would probably move a lot. That wraps up everything I sold during the week of January 11th. So when I look at the total numbers, I had total of $302 in sales, which I'm so excited about. My total earnings on those sales was $222.52. My total cost of goods for everything that sold was $88.19, which leaves my total profit for everything that sold at $13 in, or sorry, $13, $134.33, $134.33, which when I look at my total sales and then also my profit, that is more of a differential than I really want to see. So this is definitely some takeaways and some fun things for me to learn. I definitely want to look at continuing to get my cost of goods down, and also figuring out about how to maybe not have so many fees impact my, particularly on eBay. I mean, Poshmark is what it is, and that's fine. And you know that going into it, and I really don't have any complaints about that. But the eBay thing, I definitely had more fees than I think that I would ideally like. So I'm going to have to really do some tweaking there. Again, shout out in the comments if you have some thoughts or some guidance on that, because I'm still trying to figure that out. But ultimately, having $300, a little over $300 in sales in a week is still, for me as a newer reseller, pretty good. I'm hoping to get that up to more like $500 a week. I'm really trying to target $2,000 in sales each week, or excuse me, each month. So definitely hoping to get that number up, and then looking at the differentiation between my sales and my earnings being, less. And then of course in the profit being less. But ultimately it was a great week. I had some really great sales. My sourcing was amazing this week. So I am super excited to keep y'all posted on how that goes and see how some of these designer items and high-end items sell. But until then, thanks for being with me. If you've made it this far, super thankful to have you with me, and thank you for listening to what I sourced and sold during the week of January 11th. And if you are so inclined, please subscribe or give this video a like. And I hope to see you again. Until then, take care.